You know, we're gonna pop in Mondays. I know we go hours. So first off, I'm happy everybody, you know, was able to attend. We can get started with this discussion. The discussion today is, why do we show up? We typically start our Let's Talk Relationships by asking our panelists and outside listeners the topic question or question related to the topic. But we're going to do something different tonight. We're still going to ask a question at the end of this, but, you know, I'm just going to really explain why we decided to choose this topic. You know, anybody that knows the Love Snobs know that we are, you know, rooted in the belief that a strong village based on core values will enhance your quality of life. And anybody that really knows us, you know, knows us on a personal level, they know that every Saturday we come together. We start our Saturdays off with breakfast, and typically the topic of the Saturday breakfast is, you know, why do we show up? And, you know, the question we ask is, why do we show up? Is it because of our attachment, or is it because we believe in the principles and the foundation of what we are building when it comes to a village? And, you know, we're going to leave it at, I'm going to leave it at that because, you know, I don't want to lead anybody into any answers. But the first question I want to ask is, you know, why do you show up to Let's Talk Relationships every week or whenever you do come and attend?
So me personally, the reason why I show up, you know what I'm saying? Because I think I discussed this in the previous episode, as well as behind the scenes with Jerry in the inbox. I believe that when we show up to these discussions, that this is basically training ground that prepares us for when we're in the moment and we have situations that we're proactively preparing for. You know what I'm saying? There's definitely no guarantee that everything's going to be cookie cutter and it's going to go the same way that you expected or that you prepared for. But we prepare to give ourselves a better advantage of getting success and having a better outcome. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that what we're doing here is good. You know what I'm saying? Like we're proactively anticipating, you know what I'm saying, problems and their solutions. You know what I'm saying? So we're helping each other out by showing up to these meetings, as well as anyone else that might decide to tune in or pay attention.
About you, Amali?
Yeah, I agree with Drastic, but for me, I show up because I have a lot to learn, and I learn a lot from this firm since I've been here, and also I have a lot to share in my experience, and hopefully maybe someone will take something from my experience and apply it to their life.
Definitely.
So that's why I show up, because it's a give and take. You take and you learn something, and you give, and and the firm learns something from you. And hopefully it will help someone out there. If it's not a bunch, maybe at least one person can take from what we are giving out.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and apply it to their everyday life.
Okay, Christine, I don't know if she's on or she can hear us, but I mean, we can give her a second. Christine, you there?
Oh, yeah, I am. It's just a little noisy at my house. My kids are doing dishes and stuff. So, why do I keep showing up? I don't know how long I've been showing up now. It's been a while. I think it's been a few minutes. I love what you guys do. I think it always brings me something to think about. I've been working intensely on my relationships, on kind of all of them and what that looks like for me, and especially in the future romantically.
Okay.
So I think you guys offer a lot of perspective, and it's really helpful hearing everybody. I love the group environment too, of just getting so many different ideas.
Okay. Lovely.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to hear why everybody shows up, or we want to hear, why everybody shows up, because it's important for us to know why we do what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like, why do we show up to our relationships? So we want to start off, why do we show up to talk about relationships? And you can see everybody showed up to talk about relationships because they want to be on the same page. They want to make sure, you know, they're learning something as well as giving something. So I heard 2-3 people mention give and take and how they're working on the relationships and they're bringing that all their experiences back to the platform. So hopefully people can learn from it. And that same approach is not always, you know, always practiced when it comes to overall relationships, you know? So how do y'all show up to y'all relationships will be the next question. Like, why do y'all show up to the relationships y'all have? If any.
I don't know about everybody else, but you're breaking up a lot for me, and I can't hear everything you're saying.
Oh, you can't?
Oh, I could.
Yeah.
It was kind of like,
Yeah, me
kind of
too.
like,
You hear it clearly or it's
very-
breaking up?
yeah, it's like
Molly.
breaking up. Maybe it's my internet. I don't know.
Hearing you.
Okay. Yeah, that's all you then. That's all you, brother. Nah. Yeah,
Okay.
but I was saying, how do y'all show up to y'all relationships? Not to repeat everything all over again, but how do y'all show up to y'all relationships? Like, and honestly, how do you show up, you know, when it comes to your relationships?
Well, for me, I not always, but most of the time I try to show up because I want not even just a romantic, but like, you know, friends relationship, family relationship. I show up because I want them to know that I am there. I am here for you, just like I want you to be there for me. And I don't feel like I'm obligated. I just feel like it's my duty, especially if we are in a relationship, whether it's gonna go left or right. I just want the person to know that I'm there. And if I say that I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna show up because I think that's form of respect
Okay.
to the relationship. You can't just say that, oh, I'm gonna be there and don't show up in good times and in bad times.
But overall, like when you think of a relationship you're building, because I mean, just to elaborate a little bit, when you think of a relationship you're building, before you even think of getting into the relationship, you already know that you're picking a select few out of a billion people, right? To be in personal relationships with. And what's the reason why those people make the grade? What would be the reason you pinpoint why those actual people make the grade to actually go through life with?
For me, but their vibe. They have to give off a good vibe. If I come into a room and have never met anybody in that room, and you know how they say, well, my blood don't take you.
Mm-hmm.
If that happens, I don't go to those persons. But if I'm feeling a good vibe with that another particular person, that will go to that person and try to establish communication and go forth from there.
Okay. What about you, Christine? Oh, go ahead. What you were saying? What you said, Molly?
You have to give off a vibe. I can't just, be the only one that's gonna come up to you and say hi and try to start a conversation, and you're not gonna try to partake in that conversation.
Okay. What about you, Christine? Okay. I guess she's not drastic. You can hear us now?
Hopefully. Yeah, I think I just made some adjustments.
Yeah, we can hear you a lot better too.
Okay.
So the question is, why do you show up? Like you have relationships, you're thinking about the overall reason of having a relationship and selecting people to be in relationships with. So friendships, romantic partner, how are you selecting these relationships? Based on what? Like, what are you thinking? Why do you show up? Why do you pick them out of a billion people?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't even answer that question right now because you know what I'm saying. I'm in the season of being a nomad. Like I'm like 2 steps away from being in the wilderness eating wild honey and locusts. You know what I'm saying? So I can't really answer that question from experience in the present moment.
Okay, well, talk about the past reasons you show up. Talk about why you would show up in the future.
Why I would show up in the future, it would depend on the dynamic of the relationship. So, I mean, I guess it doesn't even really depend, because I feel like I got plans for the future. You know what I'm saying? So my plans for the future are based on my desire to fulfill purpose. You know what I'm saying? Fulfill purpose, fulfill destiny, fulfill ambitions. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that the people that are attracted to me, that will come along and be a part of a community, you know what I'm saying, would automatically be attracted to what's being built. If you build it, they will come. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I look at it. So, you know what I'm saying? And you obviously want to choose people that meet the proper qualifications and characteristics. You know, you want quality people around you. You want people with integrity. You want people, you know what I'm saying, that it makes sense for you to be around, and you know what I'm saying, and you come together for a common goal.
Well, that's what Jasmine said, something similar on the side. She said, well, we didn't read why the first question. So she showed up because she wants to show her dedication and support for the Love Snobs, her village, also to get another form of adult time, particularly with other minds in addition to the Love Snobs, to exchange, engage thoughts and conversation to elevate, challenge herself and others, right? So that was why she shows up. And then she says, well, that was the answer to the first question. The second question is why she shows up, which is because she shows up because the village, the people I chose to commit to, is like-minded. She chose us because we have similar core values, morals. We look to elevate in a variety of ways, and we challenge to be better and improve our flaws. We have similar ways in which we enjoy each other's company, and we each bend toward each other's preferences at times in order to grow as a unit. So that's the why she shows up.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. What about you, Mahogany? I mean, we'll rewind it a little bit. Why do you show up to this platform first, and then why do you show up in relationships? So when you come to Let's Talk, why do you come to the Let's Talk discussions?
All right, first off, let me apologize for being late. I am jet lagged. I've been doing a lot of traveling, so trying to figure it out as far as like my
Again, we appreciate the dedication.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
I appreciate you guys too, and that ties in. I appreciate you. I show up to the Love Snobs for the same reason I used to show up at the house on Saturdays. It's not often that I'm able to find alignment with people at this point. I've outgrown a lot of people, and it's very hard to find like minds and conversation that feeds my spirit in the way that I need my spirit fed. It's just not easy to come by. It's not easy to come by a group of people who are actually living what they speak, who are actually on a road to greatness and looking to assist and making sure that others are on that same road to greatness. So I'm gonna show up for that every time, as best as I can. And as far as relationships, I show up for relationships for the same purpose. Like in the past, I haven't been the greatest at choosing because I don't think I had the tools to understand what I was looking for, honestly. But now that I do, the reason I'm single is because I know what I'm looking for. And when I show up, I'm gonna show up in that space for the same reasons that I'm here. I want someone, that is growing at a great pace and can also assist in my growth, and I can assist in theirs. Someone who is focused on greatness and being the best them they can possibly be, and looking for someone who aligns with them in that journey. And I guess that's why I show up for all relationships. It's just like a common goal. We're all going towards a common goal, and it just makes sense that we team up to do it.
Definitely. Okay, Christine, what about you? We're going around the table or around the Zoom room.
Blowing today, we find out. And
will you re-ask the question?
I was saying, when you think of your relationships, why do you show up to your relationships? Like,
Yeah, I saw that as the topic today, and I was like, oh boy.
yeah.
I actually kind of self-admittedly, which I'm really starting to look at and work on, is I have a little bit of like a hero complex.
Okay.
And I'm a therapist, you know, you guys all know that, but
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of created my life and my identity around that, and I love it. There's aspects of it that I would not give up, and I'm grateful for it. But I'm also noticing that in my personal relationships, not necessarily my professional, you know, paid exchanges, and romantic relationships, that transfers over.
Yeah.
And then it becomes actually dysfunctional, a problem for me, because it's not reciprocal. It's definitely, I'll call you when I have a problem. And so when people are going through a difficult time, I'm the most popular person on the planet, and I'll be getting blown up, and I get all of the love and attention that I want, love and attention. And then once the problem's gone, which we usually get through it, it might be months till I hear from somebody again. And I'll even follow up and be like, hey, how did that go? What's up? And it's like, no time for you. I don't have a problem. And I'll kind of get the generic, like, how's things on your end? And I might respond. And then I won't get anything back there either. So noticing this kind of, that love is not a boomerang in my world. And it probably hasn't been for a long time. And in my romantic relationships, I actually don't really think it's very appreciated, right? And I almost can't help myself. I don't really know how to stop that aspect of me, like being self-improvement, because that's like what my whole life is about, and all of these things. So that is, I don't know if that answered that question, but
Yeah,
that's,
I mean,
that's some insight.
There was no right answer. It was just based on, you know, your answer. So, you know, why we decided to use this topic, why we decided to speak on this topic today was because we truly want to understand, like, do you show up because of the attachment, or do you truly show up because of the principles and the foundation that the relationship's ingrained in? And are we setting the foundation? Are we having friends for just like utility friends? You know how they always say each friend does something different for us, but they don't necessarily all have the same principles and values. So that's why a lot of us say we have a lot of friends, but a lot of our friendships aren't fed. You get what I'm saying? A lot of our friendships aren't feeding us back, or we're not feeding a lot of our friendships back. You know, a lot of people I talk to, they always talk about how they're showing up. They talk about what Christina's talking about. They see that side of the coin, where they're always showing up and helping somebody, assisting somebody, and they ain't getting anything in return. And it breeds bitterness. After a while, it just breeds a bunch of bitterness, and they start seeing the world through the eyes of all the things they didn't receive versus all the things they received. But if you're around them long enough, you realize once now they're around somebody who's asking them to show up the way they need to show up, they become those people. You know what I mean? They're not showing up fully like they need to show up, and they have a whole bunch of excuses why they're not showing up in that manner. You know what I'm saying? So we wanted to really just bring this to the stage and actually talk about it. Like, why are we so one-sided? Why do we see the world, the negatives, and we don't see the positives? Or why do we see what people are doing to us, but we don't really necessarily see what we're doing to people when we're showing up?
Mm-hmm. I just had this
Go ahead.
right before getting on here. That's funny.
Okay. Do your thing.
Hey, can I add my 2 cents to that situation?
Go ahead.
For what Christine was talking about, I wanted to ask, for one, is it possible that you have a complex about these situations and that your perception about it is skewed? You know what I'm saying?
Say more.
All right, so what I mean by that is, if we're talking about personal relationships, these are people that you're interacting with on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. So if we're talking about associates that you help out, you know what I'm saying? Like my attitude about showing love to people, like I believe that my purpose for being on earth is to love God and to love people. You know what I'm saying? So obviously that's going to be expressed in different ways depending on the dynamic of that relationship. So there's people that's going to come around that I'm going to be a benefit to them. and they're not able to be a benefit to me, and that's cool. Like I'm not even looking for it in return. Matter of fact, let me share a story with you. I went to Starbucks and the line was ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? And I'm at work right now, so I got to get back to work. Like I don't got time to wait on this line. So I asked the cashier, I'm like, yo, I gotta wait on this line. She was like, nah, I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? So she gets me my drink or whatever, and then I go to give her a tip. And she's like, no, I can't accept that. And I'm like, well, you're bad. You're gonna have to figure out what to do with it then. And then I just dropped it on the counter and left. And ever since that day, I forgot all about it. I didn't even see her again for like weeks. Like my actual desire was to make sure that I did a good deed towards her. I appreciated her for looking out for me, and I just wanted to do a good deed. Ever since, she's giving me free drinks every time she sees me.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I said that to say that sometimes, like, the goal is not the boomerang. The goal is just to be a benefit to somebody. You know what I'm saying? And the boomerang comes back unexpectedly, whether through that person, whether through somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And so I give freely. I think what I'm noticing in myself is there's times when I just want to do that. And I'm really making it conscious decision rather than unconscious behavior, if that makes sense. So like your Starbucks story, that was very conscious. So whenever I'm out in the world, I make the world a better place. And I have no doubt about that. When I'm looking at my personal relationships, and especially my intimate relationships, I don't want to be the only one that's helping other people grow and be their best self anymore. And I've taken that role on. And what I've also noticed in that is people will grow to a certain point and then they stop and they go somewhere else. So I invest a lot of time, energy. I'm a single mother. It's affecting my children. Like there's a point where I go, it's time that I actually look out for me too. So recently, like when you're saying that, Drastic, I completely agree, because I will notice now that, and these are things I didn't notice before. So this is the insight. I would just give freely, blanketly, and think everyone was my friend. Now, when I'm giving, I'm just in giving mode and I expect nothing back. But when they're my interpersonal relationships, I'm starting to challenge that a little bit more and let people show up for me, because I really don't have the time or the energy just to feed the world and get no nourishment myself. That really it does start to kind of, I don't know that I get bitter specifically, but I definitely get worn out. You know, and then it makes me want to retreat, because I'm like, you know, if I don't have anyone nourishing me, I got to like hang back for a minute because I'm depleted. I'm empty.
Well, yeah, but hold on, honey. I know you want to go, but I just want to touch on it while it's still fresh. That's a good point about how you said that when you were in your personal relationships, when you were giving to everyone and not giving back and getting anything back in return, not only did it affect you, but it affect the people around you. And Drastic, we talked about this before on the podcast that we had about how when you're giving, when you're spreading yourself and you're giving all this energy to all these random people, you're taking away from the other people around you as well. And you have to make a choice. And Christine, that's great that you realize that you want equal relationships, right? Because that's what it's all about. You putting in, you want something in return. There's like Drastic said, there's the religious portion of it that, you know, you put things out in the universe, you get things back. But when you come to personal relationships, it is really important that you get what you're putting in, because then you're going to spread yourself thin. And yes, you may not have been outwardly bitter, but I'm sure it was eating up inside, Christine. So it's one thing to put out, but you should want to get something in return because you deserve that. So especially if that's what you signed up for, if you're looking for equal, then you're expecting that in return. So I commend you for even having that realization. Like you said, you thought everyone was your friend, and you realize that it's not everyone's a friend. There's associates, there's people that, you know, I thought that I care about, but there's people that I actually love and I want to build with and I'm growing with. And I think that that's really important.
I want to add to that too, sorry, Drastic, just real quick.
No problem.
That what I'm also learning too is my own capacity. Meaning I used to have 40 people that I thought were my best friends. Now I've got 2. It was a pretty drastic measure. But I'm actually realizing that to give those couple people the energy that I want, because they are people that feed me without me asking. Like, they truly love me. They really want what's best for me. They support me no matter what. It's a 2 a.m. phone call. Of course they'd answer. That maintaining all of those other relationships were keeping me busy, but not making me feel nourished. And so now I'm actually realizing that I don't have the capacity for 40 best friends.
And that's the point that I was making with my initial question. I was saying, is it possible that your perception is skewed? You know what I'm saying? Because it almost seems like, hey, I helped you through your problem. We're best friends, but you admittedly said you don't hear back from these people for months. You understand what I'm saying? So like my attitude about that is like I've had people that I've had conversations with, and I'm like, yeah, I know I'm good for you, but you're not good for me. You understand what I'm saying? And with that realization, if you're thirsty, I'll still give you a cup of water. If you're hungry, I'll still feed you. The dynamic of our relationship, though, I'm not going to be, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be delusional about the dynamic of our relationship. I'm still here for you. You need help, I got you. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to be, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm tongue-tied right now, but basically was just going to repeat myself.
Nah, I was actually gonna do that for you, Drastic, because I caught that. I understood that you were saying, like, not every relationship is for the exchange. However, not every relationship is a close relationship. So there's the difference, right? And so in your close relationships, you're looking for that exchange. However, in those relationships that are not really relationships, these are just exchanges pretty much out in the world. You're just giving and allowing the universe to, give back when it's time. Am I clear?
Basically, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that as well. It's funny, I think I touched on this with Aziz over the phone one day, but this subject, I had this conversation with my own mother. I had this conversation with my mother. I think it's pretty weird that people have a hard time stating that they want in return, because religion says that you're just supposed to give and not receive often. So my mother's religious, and she calls and she complains about the fact that she pretty much saying she feels slighted. People are around when they need stuff, and then when they don't need stuff anymore, they're not coming around, they're not calling. All right, so she comes to me with this. So I'm just giving her some information on how to make sure that she doesn't feel that way anymore. But I turned into the bad guy because I'm telling her that relationships are exchanges. Even your relationship with God is an exchange. You have to show up if you want to receive, right? And so it's an exchange, right? So I told her, listen, going forward, when you're in these relationships or you're building these relationships, you need to make sure that you see the value in these people, because they're looking for the value in you. Everyone sees a value. What that value lies in is up to each individual, but there's a value. So they're seeing what they want in you, and they're coming and they're receiving that. And then they're making moves. And the only way for you not to feel slighted is that you made sure you found the value, and you making sure to receive that as well. Right? So now both of us got filled up in the way that we came to get filled up, and nobody feels empty. But if you're not doing that, if you're just taking it as, it's not that serious, they're going to treat it like it's not that serious, and that's the outcome you get. So when I tell her that, she gets upset because her God doesn't tell her to do things for something. And I said, that's not what I said to you. I didn't say do something. I said, make sure that you see a value in the exchange. Because at the end of the day, what is an exchange that you see no value in? Like, what am I here for? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. There's no value. Even if it's somebody who makes you laugh, there's a value there if that's what you're for. So I'm trying to give her that information, and she's not receiving that because she's receiving it as you're saying do something for something. Right? And at the end of the conversation, it pretty much turned into, I'm going to allow you to figure it out on your own, since you don't want to receive the information I'm giving you. I'm not going to fight you to help you. You know what I mean? But I think people are in denial when they say that I don't want anything in return. I don't need for. It's not true. It's not true. Because at one point I was the person who just giving all willy-nilly. And you get to a point where you like, damn, like, what about me?
Willy-nilly,
Yeah.
baby.
You know what I mean?
He says we old for saying that, willy-nilly.
You know what I mean? But what about me? Once you get to the point of what about me, then you realize, yeah, I did need something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was looking to receive something.
Yeah.
Now, what that something was is up to each individual, but you're looking to receive too. So you spend that time lying to yourself, you end up feeling depleted and back to square one all over again.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad everybody brought up what they're bringing up, because it does allow us to get a clear understanding of the platform in general. Like, Drastic, week after week after week, even though we podcast about it, you come with these understandings that's outside of personal relationships. That does not apply to personal relationships.
Yeah, I articulated that though.
Just walking down the street, giving to somebody, not expecting nothing in return, but you did get a return. She let you skip the line.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But you gave it a tip. Like, you did get a return. So I'm saying we're now so nervous to ask for something back. If the whole store, you walk in the store and the whole store is free, you're walking out with everything, right? But when it has value, you got to decide what you're buying, right? You got to make sense out of it. And remember the first discussion we had on here, what if relationships was based off of money, a monetary gain? So like, if we now put cheating at, let's say now we put cheating at a person, when they cheated, they took $1 million from you. How quick are you to take them back in your life without paying that money back? You know, that changes everything. When people start looking at it as money, it changes everything, right? So when somebody's not giving you, when you lose your value, when you're not letting people know your value, of course they're going to do what they want with you. Because you're too afraid to tell them that I have a value. When you're talking about personal relationships, they are people that you're navigating through life with. They're not just people that's random strangers. They're people that you chose. They're your chosen ones. We got to keep that in mind. So when we're talking about showing up, we're talking about showing up to people that are chosen ones, that are representations of who we are. And if we let them run all over us or do whatever they want, there is a certain expectation that you should have in choosing these people to be in your life. You get what I'm saying? So you shouldn't be afraid to say, listen, I deserve X, Y, and Z. I want to talk about X, Y, and Z. So you should feel free to talk about it. Just like Drastic, we love that you talk about it, because a lot of people are thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
They're thinking the exact same thing. I'm supposed to give without receiving. I'm supposed to not expect nothing in return. You know how many things we see on Facebook, like, or on Instagram, like, don't go in relationships with expectations.
Yeah, people are trying to.
You already know that just boggles our brain.
Yeah.
Because who does that benefit? It doesn't benefit the people giving.
Right.
It doesn't benefit the people going in and saying, I got strong standards.
Yep.
It doesn't benefit those people. It doesn't benefit people that want positive relationships, want equal and healthy relationships. It benefits to people that saying, when I go into this relationship, I'm not perfect, so I'm going to capitalize on that.
Yeah, no accountability.
Lack of accountability. And you have to have value to have accountability. You have to show value to have accountability. We talk about these things over and over again. We talk about being specific. All our topics are put in place to encourage people that have all these broad standards to narrow their focus.
Absolutely.
This is the only way you're going to gain a great relationship. We can keep talking about all the things that could happen, or we can now figure out where we're going and what's going to get us to our destination. Narrow your focus. It's hard for me to speak to people at this point in time in my life that are talking about all these contradictions they have, and they're not getting anything because all of their belief systems are contradictory. Because they all over the place. Narrow your focus. That's how you're gonna gain something. Tell this person, we're just associates. You're not my friend. I put a value on friend. So if I call you my friends are gonna go at me because you don't have to put as much work into me as they do. So it automatically lowers my value. This romantic partner, yeah, I might want to take them back. I might feel a certain way. I might feel this way. But if they keep on taking me for granted, at some point I got to put my foot down because they're not going nowhere. They're getting everything they want.
Yeah.
Why would they go somewhere?
I just went through that.
Cheat on you, do whatever. And you always tell yourself, well, you got to forgive. You got to understand. If you're constantly doing that, I got a whole bunch of time to play. So it lessens your value. So at some point, this is why we harp all the time on the emotional aspect. We're not saying don't have emotions. We're saying be clear on where your emotions lead. Be clear, able to express your emotions. Be clear on how you're utilizing your emotions. So you're making sure that your well-being is in place.
Mm-hmm. And like Christine said, just being mindful of who you're connecting it with, why you're connecting, and then you're able to put them in categories. A lot of times we get so caught up. I mean, Jasmine and I just had a conversation about just having kids and being in that space where, your kids play well together, and then the parents automatically think you guys are friends. You're not friends. You know what I mean? Like, because as soon as your kids don't get along, are you truly going to hang out with each other? Probably not. As soon as, there's a conflict between the kids, like, how are you really going to handle it? Are you guys on the same page? Do you believe in the same things? Like, it gets to this weird place, right? So you have to be very mindful and say, the kids can hang out, or maybe not, depending on who the parents are. You know what I mean? And so it's really important to be mindful when you are connecting with people and knowing why you connect with them, so you can create those boundaries within the relationship. And if you guys end up being a little friendly and decide that you guys want to be friends, then there's conversations that go with it. It's not just we hang out the park every Saturday at 5 o'clock, and now that goes to, oh, what are you doing tomorrow? And then before you know it, you go into each other's house and the homes, and it just becomes a thing, and all of a sudden this person's in your everyday life. Like, it happens just that quick, if you're not really mindful of it. And then the first time that you guys have an issue, you realize that you guys were never really truly friends because you didn't believe in the same things, and you guys don't resolve conflict the same way. You don't raise your children just the same. There's all these things that can happen in between, and you think back like, damn, like, that really got away from me. Like, if I would have met this person anywhere else, they probably wouldn't even be my friend.
I lost an acquaintance just due to a conversation we had on Accountable.
Wow.
It was on the Facebook platform. And I had to be honest about the fact that this person was not my friend, but she made the statement that we were friends. Mm-hmm. And
I don't like you like
I
that.
remember that.
No, I don't like you like this. I had a lot of, I cared for her and respected her and appreciated her, but that wasn't enough for her. She needed the friend title, but we had yet to even establish anything that could even earn her that title. Like, we weren't spending time together and speaking, and I didn't know anything about her life. You know what I mean? Like, this was just really an acquaintance that we're both martial artists. So we had that in common. We're both artists. We had that in common, and she was very supportive and I was very supportive. And so I guess the supportive space made her feel like she had a friend in me, which I think is beautiful. You know what I mean? It's beautiful that you thought of me in that way, but I needed to be clear on how serious I am about these titles. They're there for a reason. You know what I mean? And when I established that, it went away. So it is. I think it's funny. Like, when I think about it, I'm like, it's funny, but it also just secures the understanding that the Love Snobs put in place as far as in the very beginning establishing, your terms and who what it is and what it is you're trying to do with people, so that nothing's confused. Because I'm sure, it must have hurt her feelings, and that wasn't my intention. to hurt her feelings. But, you know, that's just not what, we weren't on the same page.
Yeah.
I mean, and then when you look at it, how many times have you been somebody's friend because you put in more work?
Yeah, that too.
So you literally, they see you as their friend because you're everything they want, but you don't see them as your friend because they're not everything. They don't have the capacity. They don't have enough depth to bring it to bring that focus to you.
Mm-hmm.
They're all over the place. They, you know, you kind of give them that balance. You kind of give them that ground to walk on, but they don't give you the ground to walk on.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at them like it's a boomerang. Like friendship's supposed to be something that you put in, and we're going through this life together.
Yeah.
Like, it can't just be, listen, you do you, I do me. Like we have to be putting into each other a large portion of, you know, of the year. Like, yeah, of course you have times where y'all not hanging out for a while, like, you know, but for the most part, y'all ingrained in each other's existence.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So when I say friend, I'm like, this is a person that I'm helping with their kids. Like, I'm really thinking about the longevity of it. Like, your parents is gonna die. You know what I mean? Your kids, something may happen to your kids. Like, we have to go through all kinds of things together. And if we can't go through life regular, can you imagine when tragedy happens?
Right.
Because that's what I'm prepared for. Like, we have to be ready. Like, I gotta be able to look you in your face and say, okay, being depressed is done. Like, you gotta get out of bed. And I can't be made to feel, oh, well, you're forcing me, you're pushing me. This is the time for me to push.
Yeah.
Like, this is the time where you're not at your strongest, because I'm going to need this from you when I'm pushing you away and telling you, get off me. I'm going to need you to remind me why I'm here, why I'm still present. You get what I'm saying? So we can't look in everybody's face and say, yo, this person is really going to be there on a day-to-day, going through everything, building bonds every day with me, making sure we're ingrained in each other's existence.
Not a lot.
We're not friends. Like,
yeah, not a lot of people who.
I'd say I call a lot of people I grew up with, we real close, we cool, they're family.
Mm-hmm.
I call you, you know how everybody said, we know we really friends when we can pick up the phone and it's like time didn't go by or time didn't go past, but we didn't talk for like 10 years. That's your family member.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your friend. You make time for your friend.
That's how I feel about Jess.
Yeah, you make time for your friends. Family members are the people that you y'all were friends. Y'all don't really have time. Y'all grew apart. There's still a strong care for each other. So you put them in the family zone. Friends are really people
you every day.
Yeah, you select. They're ingrained in your existence. So people may say that's too extreme, or I don't want to go that route. But I always ask, who does that benefit? Just like I ask people, when you hear somebody say, we need to be more open-minded, I'm like, who does that benefit? Because the person cheating on you is truly open-minded. You know, they're very open-minded.
They're open other things too.
Yeah, the person that's not trying to like lay down no rules and regulations in your relationships, they're very open-minded. The person that wants to do what they want to do when they want to do it, they're very open-minded. I don't know if that's what I want in my life.
You know, the example that you gave doesn't even sound bad, though. I mean, maybe the tone of voice that you use made it sound more negative than what it is. But if you got a friend that you got love for, that you call family, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not necessarily a bad thing. We don't talk every day, but you still my brother.
No, I'm not saying that. See, I didn't think that that's a bad thing. I'm talking about
saying that to categorize a problem.
Categorize them as family.
Yeah.
Not friends.
Yeah, that's a good category, though.
Yeah, it's not a bad one.
Yeah.
But it's knowing what the categories are.
But it's lower. Like, when we're talking about our priority list, it's lower. Like, I tell my family all the time, my friends is more important. Like, you're bugging. They're the people who I navigate through. Your blood, and you might have grown in the years with me to where I now look at you as blood. But these is people that go through my day-to-day. I chose those people. I didn't choose you. Number one, and if I didn't see you 10 years, you didn't choose me. And I didn't choose you.
That's a fact.
I'm honest. Like, stop it. If you didn't speak to me in 5 years, we're not friends. We need to stop it. We grew up together. We cool. We're not friends.
Yeah.
But that 5 years, you could have did a bid. Like, I don't know what went on in that 5 years.
A different person in 5 years.
Yeah. So let's be honest. We're not friends. So like, that's what I'm saying. Family, I'm prioritizing all the time. We got to make sure we understand. Like, I don't call 12 people my best friend. Best is one. Like, I'm very clear on where I'm at. Best friend don't mean that's 1A, 1B. I got other close friends that I'm really tight with. But if I'm going to call somebody my best friend, they high on the priority list.
Well, Drastic, I'm happy that you actually pointed that out, because I think that, so based on Aziz and his priorities, he's prioritizing his friends over family, right? Mm-hmm. And you may be the person that prioritizes family over friends, right? It all depends on what you prioritize. And I think that that should be clear when you're meeting people. That should be clear when you're connecting with people, like family over everything. That's what you truly believe in. That's what you should lead with.
For me, it's a triage situation. It depends on what's going on, you know what I'm saying, and the severity of the circumstance.
And like what? Give me an example.
When I use the word triage, you know what I'm saying, I'm thinking of
I know
like.
what triage means, but I'm just saying, give me an example of when you would. So just give me an example of when you would.
All right, so if a family member and a friend, one has a graduation or a wedding that they want me to attend. Another one just has a random barbecue. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go to the one that's more of a special event. You know what I'm saying? Whether that be friend, whether that be family. You know what I'm saying?
Two barbecues at the same time. Because when we talking priority, we're talking about literally you got to make decisions.
Yeah.
Drastic, you do a lot of not making decisions. We're talking about making decisions. Like, you got to make tough decisions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna triage that. You know what I'm saying? Depending on what's most important.
But both of them are the same.
Both important. I'm saying they're both equally important.
Yeah, then whoever I committed to first. Whoever gave me the first invitation and I committed to first, I'm gonna honor my word.
You got asked by both of them at the same time. Where you going?
Then whoever I'm closest with, then yeah.
But you don't even know who you closest with, because that's what Jerry was asking.
Yeah, the one that I'm interacting with on a regular basis and I have a stronger bonds with.
Well, who is that? The family member or the friend?
Or the friend, yeah.
It depends on the friend and it depends on the family member.
I'm sorry.
Come on, Drastic.
Yeah, I'm talking about your friend roll with you all the time, the family member don't. Because if the family member rolls you all the time, that family member's your friend.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I'm saying the family member, in the context we're using it, the family member or the friend.
Yeah, so I mean, if you get in that 1 in a million scenario that you're pointing out that would never happen in a million years, then yeah, I'm gonna go with the friends.
Yo, now we're the ones pointing out the scenario.
You just came up with a wedding, a funeral, and a barbecue.
Yeah, I mean, you forced it though. You asked me. You was like, all right, give me a scenario. No, I was like, yo, just triage. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, long story long though.
You were very vague, so I needed you to give a scenario. You came up with this like wedding, barbecue, funeral, and like the point is that you, like as he said, you need to establish who you're committed to from the very beginning.
I'm committed to my word first. Me personally, I'm committed to my word first. You know what I'm saying? So unless that 1 in a million situation happens where I literally got invited by both of them at the same time, whoever I gave my word to first is what I'm gonna go to.
Definitely. I would say in a healthy relationship, number one should be your faith. That's number one. That's just that's how you select people. But again, if we now looked at everybody let's say that we talked to over this time and this amount of time we've been here, your word has always been good, right? But if we're talking about the platform that deals with building equal and healthy relationships and deals with, like, obviously we believe everything is better in numbers. But we don't, if you're still looking for self-help, you probably want to go somewhere else. We're the next stage where it's not about self-help, it's about how you're connecting with others now, based on the fact that you have an understanding of who you are. So how are you attracting people that's going to support you to navigate through this world with? That's what this platform's about, period. So when we're hearing, like, you're like, oh, I'm not committing to anybody, but you're not really committing to anybody because you're saying, I'm trying to figure out where I stand at this point. So it would be a little bit more self-help. That's a self-discovery, self-understanding, between you and your faith, right? But we're talking about now you have your faith, how you're pulling everybody else in to actually have a team to bounce ideas off of. Because I'm wrong, I would say 8 or 9 times a day based on my team. Without them, I'll just be walking through the world wrong. I'll be doing the wrong thing, but they call me out. So Jerry refines me. I mean, every day. He's unafraid. He'll risk the relationship to say something that I'm doing that's not right. If you don't have that, how you fully a full-fledged human being? If you're just a piece and you don't have the pieces around you that make you this full-fledged human being. Because as we hear, our recommendation is at least have 4 people that cover each side of you. That's our recommendation. You can have more, but 4, once you have that 4 core that cover each side of you, you're good. But everybody believes in if you do things alone or have your own or do your own thing, you're a complete person. Like that's what everybody's trying to go to. I'm enough. I'm enough. I'm enough. You are enough for other people. But greatness, when you strive for greatness, you need a team.
Yeah.
I don't know who's done it alone. What story you ever heard where somebody became great alone?
Right.
I mean, all the greats begin alone, and then the team comes later.
What? What
Yeah.
great? What great?
I think it was Bill Gates when he started Microsoft. Started off in a garage. He didn't have a Fortune 500 company in the beginning. He built that later on.
But he had people.
He had his support. He had no parents. He didn't have somebody who helped him purchase this stuff. He didn't have somebody that helped him with a roof over his head. Like no support at all.
Yeah, of course you got something. I mean, like who's living off the grid?
Why are we promoting self?
There's seasons and times is all I'm saying. I believe in groups. I believe in teams. You know what I'm saying? But I don't believe in being thirsty for groups and teams. You know what I'm saying? They should come when it makes sense for them to come.
But there's a difference between thirsty for being with groups and teams and actually building with other people. There's a difference.
Definitely.
Thirsty is you are mindless and you just want groups of people around you because it makes you feel good. But when you're building, you're actually vetting people that believe in the things that you believe in, and you're growing based on that together. There's a big difference between being thirsty and building a team. And I know, again, like, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that you don't have a lot of friends, but I do think that, and I know at a place where you're at right now that you can't even fathom, like, where do I even begin? And that you don't even, honestly, as you said it many, many times, that you focus on other things and you don't really, want to connect with too many people personally right now. But I get it. Like, as we get older, it's harder for us to connect with people, right? It's harder for us to, especially when we don't really truly want to do it. So it may seem like you're being thirsty. It may seem like you're outside of your comfort zone, but if you truly want it, then you'll step outside of your comfort zone so that you could connect. And once you meet people that are like-minded and same-hearted, it won't feel forced. It'll be like a natural connection. And then you have certain things in place and you'll establish a foundation where you guys will flourish in that environment. But it's not like you're trying to sit with the cool kids at the cafeteria right now. You know what I mean? Like, you're really trying to build and connect with people. And if you are building and trying to build and connect with people that look at you as thirsty, then they're the wrong people.
I mean, if I was trying to build and connect with new people, like, I'm very capable of doing that. You know what I'm saying? I have the social abilities to do that. I have the skills necessary and the tools to. I can start conversations with strangers and forge connections and everything else, but that's just not a goal of mine right now.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
They say put yourself in positions to succeed. Your goal is like you always mention your goal. And I mean, we're just focused on drastic right now, but you know, everybody just chime in as you see fit. But your goal is, let's just put it in your wheelhouse. Your goal is your spiritual understanding, your relationship with God, right? And if God has asked you to build ladders to heaven, how you getting that ladder built faster?
By following his voice in his direction.
Oh yeah, you don't think about other, but I don't know a faith that tells you to do things alone. I don't know a faith. Prayer is better in fellowship. I don't know a faith that tells you to do something alone. So anybody that's telling me that, they're lying. They're not listening to God. I never heard a faith that tells you that.
If you actually read the Bible, you know what I'm saying, there's plenty of people throughout those pages, you know what I'm saying, that God called to seasons of being alone so that they can hear from his voice and focus intensely on his purpose and plan for their life.
Well, can I chime in?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I understand where you're at right now, Drastic, because me and Aziz have had these conversations plenty in regard to me being in a space I'm not really interested in new people. You know what I mean? Like I'm not interested. Like I'm in a space in my life where I'm like, you know, at the time, this was my mindset. At the time it was, you know, it's not a lot of people out here who I can align with, you know what I mean? And the people that people end up coming in end up being more trouble than they are a blessing. So it was like, you know, I'm good how I am, you know what I mean? And the way that I was navigating it was very easy because I'm like, it's crazy. I'm socially antisocial, if you want to call it that. Like I can cut off everybody and be alone and be great in my alone space, but I also can get anywhere and be a social butterfly. No one would ever think that I'm antisocial. So I'm able to play both of those spaces very well. However, one thing I will say is that after a few of our conversations within my business aspect of things, it's not just my business, my passion, right? I have goals. I'm all about purpose. I'm all about passion, right? Which you say you're about as well, following that path. Me and Aziz had conversations that piqued a different understanding. And I feel like those conversations actually came from source meaning God, right? Because I needed somebody to plant a seed for me to open my mind to that. As well as it opened me up to the possibility, and then God brought people in my path that showed me that there is more than the people who I was thinking about, you know, that will bring unnecessary drama, and people who will actually help me to build the empire that I'm planning to create. So the reason I'm saying this is just to say that although I do agree that there are moments that you are meant to be silent and still, so that you can receive the information you need, God is always going to still place people in your surroundings and in your cipher to help you to go forward. So it's not supposed to be a long game alone. It's supposed to be you making sure that you're quiet and still enough to receive the information needed so that you can choose wisely of those people that you're bringing into your cipher, so that you can be the greatest at whatever it is that you're going for, because you're going to need a team.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I just don't think I need a team today. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, I will need a team. You know what I'm saying? But like, I just heard an interview from Dame Dash. I don't even know if I finished the whole interview, but he was talking about how he got a streaming service that rivals Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm not even dealing with record business anymore. I did that already. And he said he's not. If I recall properly what he said in that interview, it was basically like, yo, I plan on coming out publicly with this later on. Right now, I'm just putting bullets.
It's out already.
Oh, it's out already. Okay. But at a certain point, he retreated from the public eye to make sure that he was producing the content
From the
that we
public
warrant.
eye. Only
Yeah.
the public eye, though. He has a team, a huge team of women mostly. He made sure he aligned himself with trusted women that he felt were in the position and in the mindset to get him where he was going. He closed himself out to the outside world, but the outside world and his close knit is not the same. And that's what this whole conversation is about: understanding who's who and why.
Definitely.
Right?
How do you show up? Your personal. Again, we're gonna keep saying personal relationships. Like Christine said, you know, I've been in my personal relationships and they weren't giving me anything back. If she was talking about a coworker, changes everything, but that's not what the platform's about. She brought to the platform what it's about: personal relationships. So I'm not gonna give her a coworker example. I'm gonna tell her she needs to find people who give her something back. Yeah. I'm not gonna say maybe those people are going through X, Y, and Z. That's the advice you get. People justify what people are doing to the person.
Right.
I'm saying if Christine is saying that she's actually giving, and she's not receiving, she needs to move. I'm talking about who Christine is. I'm not talking about the other person. And I'm not going to give a hypothetical neither. I'm going to go over what she's telling you. You get what I'm saying? Because in this discussion, obviously we're not like, I can't really dig deep into whether Christine is actually the one that's actually taking, unless we actually sat down and had a discussion about these actual relationships. But based on her example, I'm like, how can we assist her? You can't assist her given a bunch of other scenarios. You got to give her something that was her focus. If you enjoy who you are, you enjoy how you're giving, don't stop giving, change the people you're giving to.
Yeah.
So you can receive.
Yeah.
Well, everything's about being healthy. If I now know that the best way to get X, Y, and Z is to go through and be around people and be surrounded by great people, that's not being thirsty to be around great people. That's staying focused on what I know to be true. And then every time I'm hurt, I retreat. When you're hurt and you retreat, you're not in your best state. So a lot of people move from people and they justify it. Like, obviously, our belief system and what we practice and what we try to educate people on is different than what most people talk about. Most people talk about, I need time alone. I'm like, if they are your friends, when is the best time for them to actually be there? When you're hurt. So when you're taking time alone, you're at a weak place. So you're going at your weakest moment into a room by yourself at your weakest moment and trying to figure things out. Think about that process. And it's perpetuated time and time again. So we now say that's the way to be. Far from it. Because if that's the case, a lot of people will be healthy.
Aziz, I think.
Reverse that. And actually, when you're going through something and you're in pain, go and talk to somebody that you actually have a relationship with and see what happens. Bounce ideas off of them. Tell them how you feel. That's when everything needs to come out. And then they're going to help you when you're at your weakest because you trust that they're going to pick you up when you're falling.
That's where I was about to go. See, I think often these conversations, if everyone is not on the same page from there's levels, right? So we always speak about the levels. You start off with the understanding of defining terms, right? And what happens often, what I recognize, especially from the average person, right? They're dealing out a lot of fear, right? So while we're saying stuff like, oh, when you're hurt, it's your friends who's supposed to, right? They saying that to someone who has yet to establish what a friend is still dealing from a space of everybody they're around is their friend. And those people aren't trustworthy. Those people they've seen talk about other people. They've seen talk about them. They've seen pass on information. They don't trust them, but they call them their friends. So what happens in these conversations is while you're coming from a healthy space, it's not grasped by people who are in an unhealthy space because in their mind, you're telling them to trust somebody with their pain that they don't trust. But you understand that a friend is trustworthy. A friend you could trust with your life. A friend you don't have to worry about backdooring you because this is like a mutual understanding, a mutual love, a mutual exchange. But when you speaking to someone who doesn't have foundational understanding of what these relationships are, that sounds like a setup. And so it gets a little tricky when having these conversations, because unless we are all on the same page as far as what a friend is versus acquaintance and et cetera, now when you're saying, oh, you know, why would you be alone? Why wouldn't you, you know, have your friend there to help you through a tough time? Someone who's wounded is not thinking of a friend as healthy.
Yeah.
Even though they should be, right? Naturally, their mindset is everything that this friend has ever done wrong. They talk about people. But why would I have this person around while I'm in pain? I'm not telling nobody. I'm not telling nobody. They're still moving in a space of fear. So often while you're speaking, it's 100% right. But for the wrong ears, they're not receiving that.
Definitely. That's why me and Jerry always sit down and talk about what's the platform. The platform is to give leaders support.
Yeah.
Instead of everybody putting everything on the leader's shoulders. If we wanted to just make money, yeah, we'll appeal to the people who actually, we'll just keep catering to self. So we know who we're talking to, but our audience, we're saying, we're not going to now conform to unhealthy. We're going to say healthy things. And you got to wrap your mind around it. It's going to give you a shock. That's intentional. It's intended to give you a shock. Have you leave the platform and think about it. Because if you now go and do it and it backfires, it's not saying what we said was wrong. It's saying you had the wrong friends. So what we're constantly telling you is practice what you learn, see if it actually works, but it's always going to work for you because it's going to push the wrong people away anyway.
Yeah.
It's going to always work for you.
Yeah.
Because when you believe it, when you hear it and you're like, that makes sense, you practice it. If Christine tells me something and it makes sense to me, I'm gonna be like, that makes perfect sense. The difference between, let's say, a person that really says the world is not happening to me, it's happening for me. Mm-hmm. When somebody tells me something, I don't just agree, I believe it. So I practice it. I don't just sign on like, yeah, that makes sense, I'm not that dude. It becomes my new belief. When I'm wrong about something and you tell me what's right, it becomes my new belief. I'm going to walk that way.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just, oh, it makes sense. It makes sense. Just not for me. It becomes this individualistic thing. The whole platform is not to push people to not have their own identity. It's to actually say what we have in common, because that's what allows a relationship to flourish. That's what you show up with. Even if you're different, when people, oh, we're all different, the differences still have to work towards the common goal. Or why are we even in a relationship? A romantic partner, their differences still have to have common, they have to work towards a common goal. We want to clean the dish, we want to clean the kitchen and cook. I cook, you clean the dishes. You're a better cleaner, I'm a better cook. It still works for a common ground. Common goal. You see what I'm saying? So if you spend most of your time trying to understand what the masses is doing constantly and what they're thinking and how they're receiving it, that's where you always are going to be somebody else's helper. Then you get stuck where Christine is at, right? Christine, correct me if I'm wrong. You're always trying to think what benefit the other person. So you lose track of you.
Well, no, I'm not. I actually wanted to share a couple things because I do integrate, I make it my own. So I love the philosophy, but I make it personal to what works for me in my life. And so I started dating recently, or attempting to. And I'm already noticing like some really solid things like this, a scenario, and it's personal, it's about personal relationships. This person was kind of requesting that I drive 45 minutes to see them. And I was like, great, where are we having dinner? And he said, oh, I don't do dinner on the first date. And then we kind of went back and forth, and he was like, but if we do dinner, we're just going to go Dutch. And I'm like, so
I'm going to drive 45 minutes to see you when it's convenient for you, and then I'm going to pay for my own dinner. I'm going to cancel the date. I was like, I actually would have not done that before. But I sat with it, and I was like, what am I agreeing to? Because I'm already feeling you're going to come all the way my way, and I'm not going to come at all yours.
Mhm.
And I thought, okay, I've been in this relationship 400 times, and I will go the distance because I believe in love and I want relationship. But what I'm learning is me going the distance isn't giving me, I'm not getting the experience. Like Aziz said, I will kind of, and not that I'm the perfect partner. I'm not trying to paint myself as some great anything. It's just
You
that
already told us that
have to do this.
I give with my heart. I give freely and fully. And then there comes a point where I'm like, my turn. Let's come drive to my house. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to do that.
How come you didn't
my
know?
heart's broken.
How come you didn't ask him to meet you halfway?
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
No, I asked all of that first. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was like, let's meet here. And he was like, no, I can only meet here. And then I was like, okay, where are we going to dinner? And he was like, no, we're going for a walk. I don't go to dinner on the first date.
Nah,
And then I was like, well, if you're asking me to drive an hour around dinner time, I'm going to be hungry. Well, we can eat, but you're going to have to pay for your own meal. And I'm like,
that's
you seemed all right, but I'm really already feeling like it's going to be too much negotiation, not enough like you guys would say, too much. I need my independent. I don't want to be taken advantage of. And I could already start hearing the scripts in his head, and it's an assumption, obviously. And I checked it out. I texted out to him like, are you afraid of being taken advantage of? Because that's not my intention. But I also feel like if I'm going to drive the hour,
but I'm not trying to be taken advantage
for my $10 dinner. Like it wasn't even about the dinner. It was about the exchange, like we're talking about right now. It was already, this
Well,
isn't
they equal the investment. He wasn't equally as vested.
Yeah.
No,
I
I
like
think
that.
both people knew their worth. Both people established their worth. You said, I'm not driving and doing X, Y, and Z. Everything's a negotiation. He said, this is my investment. You said, this is your investment. Your investments didn't meet at the middle. You moved on. It's just that simple. Like, there's no wrong and right in that situation. He basically established what he wanted. You're going to drive here. You're going to go Dutch, and we're going to go for a walk. Another person would be like, I like to drive. I love long walks. And I like to pay for my own food. Right? So they would have went that route. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all it's about. That's all we talk about. There's no, like, the boundary is have the discussion. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Have the discussion. Establish where you at. Come to agreements. Don't commit until you agree to 100% what you're committing to. Keep on negotiating until you agree, they agree, move on. If a person is not willing to put in that type of work, they're not ready for the long-term understanding of a long-lasting relationship. Because that's what it's about. Every day you wake up, who's going to get in the bathroom first when two people have to go to the bathroom? Let's be honest. Like, you have to pee, I got to poop. You got to, like, your bladder. Like, when we're really looking at life and we're sharing a partnership, like, you are navigating through things that small, but they're big in the moment because both people have to go to the bathroom real good.
Right, who can win faster?
So and it's only one bathroom. So you're like, we really got it in real time. You're like, okay, you're going to go pee real fast. So in real time, you have to make those decisions. And those are the small things that now, over time, they destroy your relationship. Because then it comes back. I let you in the bathroom 17 times. When are you ever going to let me in the bathroom? Why we always got to do things your way? So you understand, if you're not really signing on for something and you're not fully committed to the relationship, yeah, you did the right thing. But he also did the right thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh,
yeah.
No, actually, it's been really fun because there's been more than one situation where I'm talking to people. That happened yesterday. This man basically was like, I just want you on the rotation. And I was like, I don't have sex out of a relationship. And he goes, that's not going to work for me. And I'm like, I don't want to be your Sunday. And we both just we were in person at this, and we both looked at each other like, take care. And he was like, yeah. And then we just went, and it was wonderful. I left like, I feel weird, but good and complete. Like, We didn't drag it on. I don't want to be your Sunday or in your rotation of all the women coming and going in your bed. And you don't want to be my friend, because I offered that. I was like, I'm not going to be in the rotation, but we could be friends. He was like, I don't want to be your friend. And I'm like, I don't want to be in your rotation. And it was awesome. But I do feel like
but that's crazy.
things that would have been dragged on before. Like, we would have kept the conversation going. But now it's a lot more like, we're just not on the same page. And it feels so good to just, bye.
You know what you want, and you're not willing to settle for nothing less. Understand your value. So that I mean, you basically said no to the question, but you basically answered it. Like, in the past, you have been a person that focuses more on what the other person's needs are, without asking for what you want in return. So that's what I'm saying. You get caught in that because that's what we're taught. And the reality is, when you enter a relationship, that person is supposed to be focused on your needs, and you're supposed to be focused on their needs. So you're supposed to have an equal partner. But when your person is not an equal partner, that's when the discussion needs to be had.
Yeah.
Early and often. Because you can't wait for it to go 3 months and then now you blowing up. Right? You have to do it in real time, and they're like, "Oh, that's nitpicking." No, it's not.
Or it's not that serious.
Yeah, that's called a relationship, a healthy relationship. Actually, let's have the discussion. Small, medium. If it's so small, we can get through it in a second. That's what I think.
Pretty much.
It's so small, we should get through this real quick. Obviously, because it's gonna drag on, it's not as small as we think it is. It's larger than we think. You know, because really, we're never arguing about what we're arguing about, right? We're always arguing about something greater in the human being, right? We're always arguing about what's with the human being, like what we think of the human being. And if people start really looking at that, I know we got out of the whole context of showing up and got into this other discussion, but that's what it's about. It's about being honest about what you're trying to relate to the human being. And he's like, yo, I just want you in rotation. I just want sex.
That was fly.
Yeah, I just want sex. You're like, I'm looking for a long-term relationship. But if I'm ever looking for sex, I'll reach out.
No thanks.
You know, that's not what I'm doing.
I'm good.
So
I don't think, Aziz, I don't think we deviated too far from the topic, because you have to know what you want and establish what you want to know why you show up anyway. So it's all relative. I think that when you don't know, you don't typically know why you show up. And when things are not fun anymore, you get to this place where you're not happy showing up and you're not putting your best foot forward, and you may even sabotage the relationship. So it all starts with having the conversation, even the awkward conversations, to even know why you're there to begin with. What you're trying to get out the relationship, what do you want, what's your end goal, and then you can build on that. Like we may go in thinking we know why we're showing up, but if we don't have the conversation, the other person on the other end won't be able to hold us accountable if we don't put it out there. So I think that's important. So, I mean, it's 10:24. I mean, Amelie, do you have anything to add? I know you was really quiet today.
Jazz,
quiet. You were. You on mute. You on mute.
You're muted, hun.
I can't hear you.
You're on mute.
No.
We can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm so tired. I'm listening. I'm absorbing all the information tonight. So I don't really have much to say.
For me, when I listen to the conversation, I mean, obviously we talk about this all the time, and a lot of times throughout our not sessions, but these Monday night discussions, we kind of touch on similar topics and kind of touch this. But I think the biggest thing I always think about is how we're born, like without people, like as a child, without people around us, we would die. We're naturally born with love and belonging. Like that's just how we're made. And so although, yes, I hear what you're saying, Drastic, about seasons and this and that, but one thing I would say is like I just had an argument, a discussion with my sister, but I should have really paid attention to what she said, because one of the things she said was basically like she does stuff on her own. If she's having a conversation with somebody, like a conversation between her and I, she won't have that conversation with somebody else. She'll just sit on it and she won't get no feedback one way or another, right? And I thought to myself, I thought, well, that's crazy. I know that we can't have a friendship because that's wild. And I really didn't think about it the way I should have thought about it further, like deeper, because even this very simple topic that we ended up having our last argument about went all the way left, because I'm thinking if she would have had this discussion with somebody else, and if they were unbiased, they would see and point her in the right direction. And I grew up Christian, and when it comes to prayer, I was never taught, when you're sitting with God and you're talking to God, like you're praying, that's on you, right? But for the most part, yeah, prayer is stronger than people. People can always help you see what you cannot. God speaks to people all the time. So to Misha, to Mahogany's point, like, yeah, like there's so many different ways that God uses people, and it makes 100% sense because we have love and belonging. Like there's just no way out of it. You know what I mean? So for me, like that was the biggest point or aspect that I thought about throughout this whole discussion, was just like, it really imprinted and just kind of solidified that idea and that real understand, that knowledge that I have, that we need people. Like even this discussion, like we need people. We people, when they're older, they die faster without people around them. You know what I mean? Like it just is what it is. You can't escape it. It's science, but it's also spirituality. It is what it is. So that's all.
Yeah, I think prayer is more of a personal thing in many cases, because I don't view prayer as just sharing thoughts into the atmosphere or treat it like I'm journaling or something like that. Like to me, prayer is dialogue. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm interacting with people, you know what I'm saying, if there's any type of conflict or there's any type of situation that requires for me to show up, I'd like to consult somebody that can give me wisdom. So I'd prefer to consult the wisest person that I know, and the wisest person that I know is not mortal. You know what I mean? So
well, I ain't gonna. You think God is a person?
When I say person, I use that term loosely. No, God is spirit, though.
Okay.
God is spirit.
I get that, Jessica. But what I'm saying at the same time, though, is that yes, right? You pray, but sometimes the answers come through other people. You know
That is true.
So that's what I'm saying. So to think that you have to sit a season, a fall, a winter, a year, 10 years, and do this shit on your own, to me, at this point, that doesn't make sense, because you're taking it like, from what I hear what you're saying, it's longer than what it needs to be. Because while you're talking to God, because I have the same thing. My discussion of prayer is like, I'm not praying and asking stuff. What I'm doing is I'm trying to have a dialogue. I'm trying to gain I'm trying, you know what I mean? There's a whole different type of understanding there. And with that, sometimes the answer is going to come from the people. There's things that I think about that I talk to God about, and the next thing you know, I'm having the same discussion with Aziz, and I didn't talk to him about it. And he's giving me insight that basically is answering my question if I choose to accept it, but it's answering the question that he didn't know I was talking to God about, but all of a sudden we just had this fucking conversation. I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
And it doesn't always come by way of conversation via people. It also comes by action of way of people. So
yes.
Interact in order to get some of your answers. So
yes,
I'm just saying, don't close yourself off to the outside world, because sometimes that's the way God is communicating with you.
Yeah, well, listen, I agree. God is all knowing, almighty, but homie, like, yeah, like he's using other people to get to you too.
Yeah, I want to say relationships, the foundation, and I want people to just be mindful of this. The foundation of relationship is consistency and stability. So when we say this sometimes, it's not sometimes, it's most times. Most times, that's practice. That's all we're talking about. That's practice. You can give us a whole understanding of what's going on, but you haven't tried it the other way yet. We've been here 30 weeks.
It's crazy.
You haven't tried it the other way yet. So how could you say the other way don't work?
On the contrary, this way is new to me. You know what I'm saying? I've always been around people. I've always been around people. I've always been engaged with and had personal relationships, and you know what I'm saying? I got ex-girlfriends, and like that was the past. I'm a new creature now, and this is a new approach.
But they weren't helping.
Was it quality drastic?
They weren't about what you're about now.
Everyone's
all we're saying is fellowship.
No.
That's all we're saying. They weren't about where you have focus. Then you didn't have focus. Yeah. Admittedly so.
And it's just like the joke that I told you, Aziz, you know what I'm saying, behind the scenes in the inbox. Like, I'm on the same page as you. I'm just reading at a different pace. You know what I'm saying? I agree with you about, you know, groups and personal relationships and stuff like that. that's just not the point in time that I'm at right now. You know what I'm saying?
What
You don't wear shorts and wife beaters in the winter time. You know what I'm saying? You don't wear bubble.
What's my response to that? What's my response?
Yeah, you giving me the footnotes. You know what I'm saying? For where
Cliff Notes, why?
I forgot your exact words, but
you're on the same page.
Yeah, and I'm saying we on the same page. No, I'm just not reading at the same pace.
You're not reading. You're not in the same place. So I'm giving you the Cliff Notes so we get to the same place. The whole point is so we on the same page.
Bars.
That's the goal. You're losing focus of the goal. If I don't even want to read the book behind you if you already can give me the understanding. I trust you. That's what we're constantly doing. Relationships are a faith. Relationships are a faith. I don't know what you do when you leave here. I don't know what's happening when people walk away. It's a faith. The whole point is I'm going to keep you in the loop. I'm going to make sure that I'm in your best interest. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing everything I need to do to show up for you the best way I can. So I'm saying when you need people to show up, you need them present. You got to nurture those relationships. So what we're saying is it's consistency. It's stability. And through all of that, regardless of what faith you believe, that's the positive energy you're going to get through other people. That's what we're saying. So in a nutshell, it's all about having everybody come to the table and like, listen, we talk about accountable love. This is what we're talking about. Holding people accountable. And people see that as a duty. People see that as a responsibility. Relationships are a responsibility. But it's freedom. Because you stop somewhere and you're actually building something that's yours. You're not just constantly walking. You're building something that's yours with people you care about. So when Christine has the ideal partner, she's gonna say, okay, we're stopping, we're building.
Yeah.
They're gonna intertwine with her friends. Their friends are gonna have partners, and they're building something. They're building something that's stronger than she would ever have alone. That's what we're saying. But we lose focus because we live in our pain. I've been with everybody's been. I know what it feels like to be pain, to have pain, and lose track of my goal, and start believing that everybody's out to get you. Everybody's gonna do the same thing to you.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not my personal.
I'm not
you know
saying it's what you're saying, it's what you're showing, but it's not what you're saying.
Nah, that's what you're perceiving. But your perception is wrong though.
I'm gonna send you some. I'm gonna send you some tapes. I'm gonna send you a little snippets back to you. Everything's about us caring about you.
Oh yeah, I see that. I definitely know that you're coming from a pure place.
So that's why I'm like, we need to care about you. When Christine, let's say 2 weeks ago, we was like talking about emotions, and we're like, we want to care about you because we don't want somebody saying in reverse that they're entitled to their emotions and treating her certain way. We want to be mindful, like you deserve better. And we want to be mindful that you're capable. You're very capable. So don't never sell yourself short. That's our most important thing. We want to care. We want to show people how to care about each other. But you got to say that hard things and you got to challenge them.
Absolutely.
You definitely have to challenge them.
And on that note, it's 10:34.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go on this whole long spiel, but I would like to say that, like as he said, what are we, 30 weeks in? 33?
Yeah, 30.
30 weeks in.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't feel that way, actually. I remember when we first started. But for everyone to show up and express or to explain why they show up every day to this platform was great. I'm happy that we are happy that everyone's getting something out of it. And it's therapeutic to you guys, and you show up constantly to, add to this platform, because again, Aziz and I truly believe that love is a group journey, and we wouldn't be able to spread the message without you guys. So we actually, it's in order for us to get to where we need to go, we need other people. So for you guys to be honest about why you show up, and you actually show up week to week constantly, we truly appreciate that. Not just for us, but for the people out there that also need some type of guidance, support, or just to know that there's other people like them somewhere else that they can benefit from. So we appreciate you being vulnerable, sharing your stories, being able to, you know, just even relay the message in 5 other different ways so that it could be communicated properly. So I appreciate you guys. We appreciate you guys. And thanks for showing up week after week.
Definitely. Let me add.
Thank you so much for hosting it.
I do appreciate y'all all, like, for being challenged and stepping up.
Yeah, that too.
You know what I mean? Because we don't never want to do y'all a disservice by sitting back. It's very easy for us to sit back, trust me. But we want to, you know, we want to always challenge a point you make. We might even agree with it, but we want to challenge you to make sure you understand. You know what I mean? So we do appreciate that you're challenged and you keep coming back. Because how many people y'all run into that are challenged and keep coming back?
You can't grow in life without challenge.
Yeah, it already shows that y'all have what it takes to start building these relationships. So, you know, keep up the good work.
It was fantastic, and I just love how you never get defensive. Like, we could somehow the conversation come to you at some point every Monday, let's say, and you roll with the punches. You know, you.
I welcome all smoke. Now, like I do pride myself in being a transparent person. So, to be honest, there have been moments during these dialogues that have been, you know, somewhat uncomfortable, but you know what I'm saying, I still welcome it nonetheless because I know it's coming from people that have pure intentions, you know?
So enjoy.
And that goes to knowing why you're showing up.
Yeah, so enjoy.
But anyway, thank you guys. And like we said, love is a great journey. See you next Monday.
All right, good night, everybody.
Good night. See you next
Bye,
week. Thank you.
Bye.